Welcome to the Truth Club, the podcast where two best friends have a good laugh and possibly a cry about the things that matter and the things that don't. You're now a Truth Club VIP with an access all areas pass to our honest opinions. So here they are. Oh, and we're your hosts, Carly Smallman, that's me, and my comedy wife, Alyssa Kyria.
This podcast is recorded on Zoom, as we can't be in the same room as each other because of lockdown. So the sound may be a bit crap at times, but hopefully you'll forgive us for that, as we will be so hilarious and entertaining.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the Truth Club. My name is Carly Smallman and I'm here with my bestie and wifey for life, Alyssa Kyria.
Hi, wifey for lifey.
And this, we're here another week, another lockdown week, and we're really excited about today's episode. It's going to be about our self-care toolkits to keep ourselves going and functioning. I was going to say to a high level. We'll go medium level, functioning to a medium level. Any level. But first of all, my gorgeous wifey for lifey, let's talk about highlights and lowlights of the week. How's your week been?
Highlights and lowlights.
Week's been crazy. We are selling our house, so it's been all bananas and in here, but it's been half term. So my highlight has definitely been not homeschooling. I've done some extremely lazy parenting this week. Lots of Lola on her iPad time. So it's been great. So yes, that is a big highlight. Low light. I did a lovely yoga workshop on the weekend, but I found I couldn't really get through it properly because my inner critic piped up, and I thought I should bring that low light here to this podcast because we are talking about self-care. So I was trying to do something very self-carey, but my inner critic was like, "You're crap at yoga. What are you trying to do with this silly?"
That's horrible.
It was just mean. I was being very mean to myself. So that was a low light because I'm definitely trying to work on that stuff. And I thought, well, I've actually clearly got a bit of a way to go if I'm going to be that mean to myself about a yoga workshop. So that was a low light.
That's totally understandable, though. I mean, number one, yoga is hard. And number two, once, especially for me as well, once that inner critic gets going, it can make you think you're shit at anything.
Yes, and just
even stuff that you thought you were good at.
Yeah, and just being a person just makes me feel you're shit. You're shit.
You're a shit person.
You're a shit person. That's nice, isn't it? So that
was babe, I'm sorry that happened.
That's all right, my darling. Thank you, Annie. For you, Carly Smallman. Highlights and
highlights and lowlights. My highlight, it sounds so sad. My highlight is just watching Married at First Sight Australia every night. It's what I look forward to every day. I know that sounds so dumb, and I was never into reality TV ever. I always used to look down my nose at it and be like, these people watching this, they're just thick as shit. These people, why don't they pick up a book? But now I am completely hooked. Lockdown has really changed me in that respect. I used to watch things like documentaries, and now I'm at like the level of Married at First Sight and Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So
good for you,
thank you. I've learned something.
Show. Yeah,
it's fabulous. And I have to say, it's really been keeping me going. My low light, I've just remembered, I haven't told you this yet, was something that happened the day before yesterday, or was it yesterday? God, the days are blending into one. I locked myself out of my flat.
Oh no.
It was so brutal. So I've locked myself out of my flat, and literally a week and a half ago, the lock for the downstairs sort of communal door was changed, and I hadn't had a copy of the key made. So I was locked out of my flat with my dog, luckily, otherwise he'd have been mental. And I had to call the person who it owns the flat downstairs from me, who has a copy of the key, and asked them to come and let me in, but they were at work. So she said, I'm going to send my son. Then I get a phone call from the son, who has somehow managed, whilst coming to rescue me, to lock himself out of his house between his living room door and like his outer door. So like he locked himself in his own porch. So he was trapped in his porch. I was trapped outside my house, just in the rain. Eventually, his mum came and let me in. but it was
So he's
it was
the
a low
rescuer
light.
ever. I mean, a rescuer that got
True.
trapped between two doors before he got
Yes.
through, basically. So
when he told me, I felt like such a bitch because he rang me to tell me, and instead of me like giving any sympathy, I just burst out laughing. I just thought it was the funniest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah. Oh, love.
So yeah,
That's
so that was my
low
low light,
Yeah.
standing outside in the rain because I felt too guilty to say to a neighbour, "Can I come into your house?" in case I was like spreading pandemic at them.
Oh.
And just hanging out with my dog, and my phone was locked in my house, so I had to like go into like local shops and be like, "Can I call my mother?"
Babe, that's rubbish.
I know. I didn't even.
A lot of drama though for lockdown. I mean, that is an exciting morning.
Oh, well, one of my neighbours came downstairs to wait with me because like he has no life, and it was like the highlight of his week. So I gave someone else a highlight.
You gave to stand with you in the rain. Oh,
yeah, he was very sweet, very kind and nice man. So yeah, so that was my highlight and low light this week.
Get in on the song, okay?
Sorry, I'm not as good as you at that.
No, you're
the jingle maker, the jingle meister.
I am the jingle meister. You need to record your own one so we can do it.
All right, next week. Next week, I'll have something that's going to be its own, maybe in its own style. Maybe, yeah. I might do UK Garage MC, like up, highlight and low light, something like that.
Yes, please.
There we go. Showing our age. Carla Smallman. So this week, Alyssa and I are going to be chatting about our self-care toolkits, all the things we do to look after ourselves and be kind to ourselves. Alyssa, do you want to kick this off, babe? Tell me about self-care for you and like why it's important.
Well, I think, I'm really excited that we're talking about this because I also want to do this is the Truth Club, so we're being honest about this stuff, aren't we? And I do lots of lovely things for myself for self-care, but I also get it like very wrong sometimes and not very nice to myself at all. And like I just think a lot of the time, especially in lockdown, everyone's just going, just be nice to yourself and telling you all these things that you should do, and you're just like, oh, fuck off, I just want to sit in the dark room and cry, leave me alone. So yeah, I'm glad we're doing this, but I love a bit of self-care. I think me and you are all about that, aren't we? We love trying.
We're very good at it, actually.
Yeah,
especially compared to a lot of people we know. We actually do take the time, and I have got better at that since I've been friends with you. Is being we call it being a nice to ourselves, don't we? Nice to ourselves.
I do a bit of meditation is on my toolkit list, definitely. Affirmations, I've got that from you. You love your bit of affirmations, don't you, babe?
I actually do, but I haven't been doing them as much during lockdown. I think when you don't know what you want, which is kind of how I felt lately, because obviously my main job has been taken away from me, so I don't feel like I've got any aims. It's hard to say like I am this, because I'm not. I feel like I've lost myself a little bit, not in a way like, oh, poor Kylie, she's lost herself. Like I just don't know.
Yeah.
But I've done some really great affirmation stuff over the years. The thing that I actually find really handy with affirmations is to get a little post-it and stick it somewhere that's relevant for that spot in your house. So I have a huge mirror in my bathroom, and I've got a little post-it on the mirror saying, you look perfect just the way you are. So that when I look in the mirror, so even when I look like shit, even when I'm like hungover in my pajamas with like mental hair, I can look and I go, yeah, it's the perfect look for me.
Really, really nice. That's so lovely. It's just doing nice little things for yourself, isn't it? And actually thinking that you're worth doing those nice things for. And I think that's a really lovely thing to do. I've definitely over this last year, I think being with you as well, I think we've both gone a bit more woo-woo in our
very woo-woo people.
Yeah, but we've really sort of dove into the woo-woo.
We've gone full moon rituals. Actually, I have to say, a full moon or a new moon ritual is a great self-care thing because they make you reflect on yourself. So, on a full moon, I will decide what I want to release from my life and sort of focus my intentions on that. And I'll run myself a lovely bath just to kind of renew myself, clean myself up, and try and actually commemorate it, maybe do a little tarot reading to sort of take a bit of time to look inside who I am and what I want and set some goals. Yeah, but also the thing that is great about it is you've got a specific date in the calendar that's like, right, on this day, I'm not doing anything apart from looking after myself. And I think you could apply that even if you don't believe in the woo-woo stuff.
I think that sounds great. I've never done anything like that before I met you, and you've kind of introduced me to this side of things. I actually, dear listeners, appeared on Carly's show, Tara, Nice to Meet You. And that was a full moon, babe, wasn't it? We did a spell.
We did a spell to sort of attract what we wanted, to manifest things, didn't we?
Yes. And the guests were asked to bring sage to burn to clear the energy, and I haven't done anything like that before, and I didn't really know what was going on, so I went to Tesco's and I bought a packet of sage, like sage that you put in stuffing, like,
so funny.
And Carly, that just basically, her and Sarah were like, what the fuck have you all...
We were really laughing. I was like, your house is going to smell like a roast dinner. I can't...
Yeah, just so you know, I didn't know, you're supposed to, it's basically like a stick thing that
it's like dried sage in a bundle.
Dried sort of sage that you use for crystals and energy stuff.
Very funny.
So yeah, that's what it. But so what I mean, like, I feel like everyone's giving advice or kind of telling us what to do with self-care at the moment, because, like I said, because of lockdown. What do you think? What is self-care to you? What do you hear when you hear that term? What does it mean to you?
I think I used to think it was treating myself really nicely and treating myself. But actually, the older I've got, the more I've realized that it's actually, I read a thing where they said self-care is being a parent to yourself, giving yourself what you need. Sometimes it involves some tough love, because actually self-care does involve some tough love sometimes. You might think you're sort of bumbling along okay, and maybe you're drinking too much for self-care. Like, I'm going to treat myself. I deserve this. Sometimes you need to tough love yourself, and that is still an act of self-care. So for me, it's kind of trying to step outside myself and take on a role of caretaker or parent to myself.
Really good.
So,
I think you're so much better at this self-care stuff than me, because I think that's really good, because I agree with you. Definitely it should be like parent yourself, but I definitely fall into the trap of, I deserve this too.
Oh, I do too, don't get me wrong.
And like, I deserve this Chinese food again and again and again, which, a bit of all that is lovely, but I then end up on that slippery slope of, is this self-care, or are you just a overweight alcoholic?
I agree, because sometimes a Chinese or like a bottle of wine is an act of self-care.
Yes.
But Chinese and a bottle of wine every day, you don't feel better after that. You might, like, you feel better after it sometimes, but not all the time.
Exactly.
And, I do that.
Find that though, isn't it, Carls? And I think it's good to talk about this stuff, because no one talks about it really. Everyone just, they've got their memes that they put out, for look after stuff and all that bananas. But no one actually says, actually, sometimes self-care is you beating yourself up. Sometimes, and you think you're being nice to yourself, but you're actually just doing something that isn't good for you. It's quite a confusing thing sometimes. But I think your way of defining it is true self-care, which is really lovely, is that being a parent to yourself. It's sort of actually looking after yourself and finding out what you actually need in that moment.
Because sometimes for me, like, not during lockdown obviously, but a genuine act of self-care has been, right, I'm going out with my friends, we're going up to Soho, I'm going to get absolutely fucking annihilated on whatever cocktails I want, and I'm treating myself to a taxi home. That night, that time with my girls, going out, glamming up, feeling beautiful, taking photos of my night out, putting them all over the internet to sort of boast to everyone, to be like, look how great I am. Like, for me, sometimes is an act of self-care.
Yes,
I feel like I need
love that. Totally.
It doesn't have to be meditating. It doesn't have to be meditating.
Exactly. And that's so true. And one, I can't fucking wait till we can do that. Can I be included in this fiction?
You're there.
Me and Carly, part of our self-care routine is to send each other pictures of the outfits we're going to be wearing once lockdown is over. I sent Carly a picture of a glitter caftan thing that I think she would rock. At this,
I would rock it.
So that we do. But yeah, sometimes self-care is doing that, absolutely. And then you've got the other side, which is, for me anyway, and other people might not like this, but some meditating, I love a bit of crystals. My husband, for example, thinks crystals are a load of old bollocks. I don't. I think they're great, and they really have an effect on me. I love a bit of crystal. I was feeling all low the other day, so I wore some rose quartz crystal, and I did a lovely rose quartz crystal meditation, and it felt bloody gorgeous afterwards.
Love that.
Yeah, it was lovely. So it's just finding what makes you feel fantastic. And for me, doing like a lovely rose quartz meditation makes me feel fantastic. But also, having a Chinese and a bottle of Villa Maria, fantastic.
Free advertising for Villa Maria. Please be our sponsors and send us some of your delightful products.
Please send it to us. But you probably won't after you hear this story. But I have to tell you this, Carls. Last night, Lola said to me, I was having a glass of wine, shocker, and Lola came over to me and said, "Mummy, you smell like diarrhea." I was like, "What? Lola? Oh my God, that's not very nice." She went, "Yeah, well, what you're drinking, you're always drinking. You smell like diarrhea." I said, "Villa Maria."
Oh my God. Oh my God. And when she has the shits, does she go, "Mummy, I've got Villa Maria, come to the toilet"?
It's all just mixed up. And I like running to the loo. So that was nice. But basically, my daughter told me I smell like poo, but she meant my favourite wine. Also, just worrying that I generally smell like Villa Maria.
No, I think it's a wonderful smell if you do. Eau de toilette de Villa Maria.
Exactly.
I'm a big fan. Another thing that people say about self-care is exercise. And I think exercise is one of these things that you can end up, like you did with your yoga, beating yourself up about, because I think a lot of, especially with Instagram, so I like to follow people who do workouts and they look amazing and they're wearing like matching workout gear and it really looks like an act of self-care on there, but the reality of exercise can be pretty gross and sweaty and disgusting, but you do always feel better afterwards, and that is for sure.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of exercise for self-care, but again, you don't want to use it as another stick to hit yourself with, like, "Oh no, I didn't do my yoga today, or I didn't work out today. Oh, I suck. I'm so unfair. I need to do this million workouts." It's about thinking, if you think you can do it, you will feel better afterwards, but not beating yourself up if you can't do it. But I love exercise. I do love, though, when I can be bothered to do it, a bit of weights. Me and you, we love a bit of weights.
Oh, I love weights.
They really make me feel better. They really help my depression, actually. I just feel stronger when I do weights. So just stronger mentally, physically, everything. Love a bit of exercise. Me and Lola actually did a dance class last night.
Was that fun? How did that go?
So fun. We were just bopping around the living room to really cheesy hits, and we had a great time. And actually it was really good, especially that we were doing this podcast today, because normally I'm like, right, I must do my hit interval working out, that's how I'm going to keep fit. And it is like a kind of, it's self-care-ish, but it's a bit me being hard on myself, surprise again. But then I decided this week, no, I'm going to book in some dance classes. I'm going to just do some fun stuff to mix in for my exercise. And actually, it's a really lovely thing to do. I'd highly recommend it, just pissing about and dancing around.
Well, I used to go to Zumba every Monday night. The best person I ever saw at Zumba was, there used to be this little woman who also came every week. She was like a little lady. I think she was Spanish or Italian. And she was the world's worst dancer. You go in, she couldn't follow the steps, the music would be pumping really loud, and this absolute legend of a woman would just be doing whatever dance she wanted with a giant smile on her face, going her own way. I mean, like, any outsider for the Zumba class would have thought, "Oh my God, that lady is batshit mental and shit at dancing." But she was so well loved in the class because that joy that she gave the rest of us, it was contagious. We were like, this is exactly it. This woman knows she can't follow a step from a lady at the front of the room, but why shouldn't she come and do what she loves, which is just to sort of gad about in a room full of sweaty women? Some of these articles I find incredibly patronizing, especially at the moment. It'll be like 50 self-care things to keep you upbeat during the pandemic, 50 things you can do at home for yourself. And some of them, and I know personally where I've had spells of depression this last year, are just unrealistic and bollocks. Like 50 things you can do: completely shave your whole body and paint your nails and give yourself a facial from home. When I'm like, my act of self-care today is I'm going to get dressed.
Yeah,
that's my act of self-care. That's the limit. And I think especially women, because for some reason society does not pressure men to have any self-care in that way, but also on the negative, like men are not meant to sort of be in touch with how they actually feel. They're meant to just take care of themselves. I'm a man.
True.
But aimed at women, I think once again there is this pressure to do self-care in the correct way, like you're saying, the correct way. Oh, I should, number 1, go outside. Number 2, exercise. Number 3, meditate. Number 4, eat a million vegetables. Number 5, look incredible.
Look,
because
yes,
that
you look.
yeah.
Oh, Carl, you're so right. And that is, self-care is whatever you need that day. And for you, like when you're having one of your down days, and as you know, I completely relate, it's just get out of bed. It's wicked and amazing, and that's your self-care for the day. And good for you. But then I find myself reading these articles too, and I'll complain about them to you, but then I will click on them because I'm just like
the same
knob, and insane. And like I was reading literally yesterday 50 things that Reese Witherspoon does for her self-care. Like, what? Why?
How do they know that? And how are they in her house? How do they know this about Reese?
Exactly. And I was going to call her and say, listen, Reese, bollocks. I'm sure you hide under your duvet and cry and stuff your face with spring rolls. She didn't answer. But
she's very busy if she's doing 50 things a day as well as having a global superstar career.
Exactly. And it was just pictures of Reese, like tiny little perfect looking Reese with a massive plate of fried chicken that she'd made with like wholemeal breadcrumbs or something. It just made me want to just jump out of a window. It's like my self-care does not level up to Reese's level of self-care with like 7 workouts a day with her different trainers. I don't know why we read these articles. I don't know why we do.
I don't know either. I have to say, like today, I my act of self-care, because as I was saying to you earlier, there are certain things I will admit that I've been neglecting, like my hair. It is somehow both greasy at the top and dry like straw at the bottom. And so I've had to tie it back in like a low ponytail from the 90s, which is now very on trend, but is perfect for that greasy, dry combo hair. I just can't face washing it. I just can't even face it. But what I did is my act of self-care, because I looked in the mirror and thought, fucking hell, Carly, you look like shit, which I know is not a nice thing to say to yourself, but like objectively, the hair was a bit of a spoiler for the overall look. And so I just put on some lipstick. That's all I did.
Yeah.
I put on some lipstick, and that tiny thing made me feel confident when I was out walking my dog, that people weren't staring at like the rat's nest on my head. They were looking at my face I was imagining they were looking at my face and saying, oh, she looks well put together today, she's wearing lipstick. Who knows? They're probably not even looking at me. This is why I'm such a fucking attention seeker. Probably no one is looking at me, but I needed that, and that's what I did.
Together, and I completely get that. And I think also, what we're saying is that we do actually find a bit of time for self-care, which is in whatever way that is, whether it is getting out of bed, putting on lipstick. We think of ourselves and think, oh, what can I do for myself today? And I think, again, women especially, I think possibly, but also maybe men too, I think this is everyone feel like, oh no, that's selfish. Oh no.
Yes.
I just need to work. Whatever, look after the kids, or just go to work, do productive things. Like, you don't need self-care. What's that? It's just indulgence. Self-care is self-indulgence. What does it mean?
I agree. I am reading such a wonderful book at the moment, and I recommend that anyone listening to this also picks it up. It's called The Joy of Being Selfish by Michelle Elman. She's an Instagram influencer, and it's a book about boundary setting. But in this book, she talks about how Western society has socialized us all to believe that doing anything for yourself, whether it is an act of self-care, whether it is setting a boundary or saying no because you can't do something, is selfish, and how selfish is going to have negative connotations. And actually, we need to redefine the word selfish. Is it selfish for me to say that I'm taking this night out to have a bath and that I'm not going to be communicable? I can't speak. Communicable. Out of contact. We'll go with out of contact. Yes, and that's good. It's good for me to be selfish because I might need that bath to reset my brain.
That's such a good point.
Let's just say selfish is good now. Everyone in the Truth Club will just say being selfish is like a bonus.
Yeah, and it is that. I think, like my husband's quite kind of posho toffee English.
He is posho toffee. We love it.
I do love it, but he's got that attitude that, oh, what, self-care, like I'm and it's just like, what? It doesn't talk like that, but
I've got to go muck out the horses. I don't have time to meditate.
No. And he's, his work ethic is amazing, but it's too much almost. Like, he doesn't think that he needs to just stop and take a bit of care for himself. I think he sees that as self-indulgence. So since being with me, he's now a huge fan of bubble baths and massages and things like that. So I feel like I've had a real influence on him in this way, because when we first met, he was just like, no, you just don't look after yourself. What? Why would I take time to do that? I've got to go to work. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. It's like do. But doing nothing for yourself. So I think that book sounds awesome. I think everyone could do with a bit of that. And boundary setting, you mentioned that is actually a big act of self-care.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about that, Carly, because I don't know much about that.
Oh my God. I could do a whole fucking episode on that. I could do a whole episode of boundary setting. So, no, like, historically, as you know, wifey, the listeners don't, I have not been able to set boundaries. I don't say no to people. I have always been walked all over. And it's led to like resentment for certain people who I feel take me for granted, or I get a lot of guilt, like, oh, if I don't do that, I'm a bad person, I'm selfish, and I get these guilts, but then I end up with resentment because I've had to do something that I really didn't want to, in order to be seen to be a nice, kind person. And so this past year I've really needed to work on setting boundaries, especially with my family, because actually I felt like it was detrimental to our relationships for me to keep pretending to be fine with some of the demands that they would put on me, or some of the ways or things that they do. Even today, I did a really good boundary setting. Ooh. I was so proud that I told my dad afterwards, because my dad is also trying to do some boundary setting. And so I went to visit my parents, to my bubble. And when I got there, I was there for 5 minutes, and my sister called my mum on FaceTime. Now, generally, my mum would then sit on FaceTime for 30 to 45 minutes to my sister while I was visiting, and I would just kind of be sitting there for that time. And I ended up saying, Mum, I've come to visit. You're going to spend the whole time on the phone to someone else. And my mum went, oh, okay, yep, Lucy, I'll speak to you later. And for me, that was such a big moment, because normally I wouldn't say anything. Normally I would just be like, well, no, I don't want to upset my mom or my sister, blah, blah. But then I would feel resentful because I've gone to visit my parents. I don't live with them. I want to spend quality time with them, and I'm not. They're on the phone to someone else while I'm just sat there twiddling my thumbs. And it's my fault because I don't say anything. They think it's fine, and I'm fine with it. Of course they do. Why wouldn't they? Because I'm not objecting to it.
Yeah, you did it. You said something. Well done. Awesome.
And it's so funny. As an act of self-care, I must say, for someone like me, and I don't know about you, having the bravery to say that like takes quite a lot of guts. And I know it seems like such a minor thing, but it was an act of self-care, because I didn't want to leave that interaction with my family being like, oh, and I went there and they just didn't even want to speak to me because I'm so shit and I'm so crap, and they'd rather speak to someone on the phone than speak to their own daughter, and then a little spiral. So it is an act of self-care.
You stopped then your own negative self-talk when you left. So it's actually a big act of self-care that you did that. Actually, I think that's brilliant, my darling. I'm so
thanks, babe. But these sort of things are, and especially like I know you've been doing a lot of courses and things lately that at face value may feel like they are something kind of quite crap to go through, like with boundary setting, or that you have to face something painful. But you've been doing that, and I know sometimes you've been finding it hard, but when you come out the other side, you're like living your best life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I felt like with lockdown, it was a perfect time to try and do some kind of deep healing on myself. And it's quite a very deep act of self-care, really, because it's getting to those real negative beliefs about myself that have been there for a long time, from getting bullied at school and crap with my family and all the stuff, all the old crap. So I've been using workshops and therapy, getting it all out on the table, and it's bloody horrible, really, because it's sort of going through your whole pain and just like but then you are getting it out. So rather than it just festering inside you, where you're just like, I'm rubbish, I'm crap, that's why everybody was mean to me when I'm younger, because I was just rubbish and I'm still rubbish. That's my gremlin, my inner gremlin voice. You know?
Why has it got a blocked nose?
I don't know. It's very nasal. I'm also nasal. I hate myself.
I hate myself so much.
So much. But it's getting it all out and actually trying to find. I'm just making myself laugh because after this podcast, it's in perfect timing. I have a Reiki session, a distance Reiki session. I know, I'm so woo-woo, it's ridiculous. And it's really amazing because it's like lockdown. She can't come to my house, so she's doing it distance. We're not even on the phone together. I'm just going to go lie down at 3 and just it's going to happen apparently, but I've set the intention that I've told her this to release shame and fear and to surrender to deep love for myself. I know, but it's getting it all the crap out. It's what it is. It's getting out all the crap, the way that I feel about myself or have felt about myself for a long time because of old stuff, and sort of bringing in a bit of self-love. And that's what I've definitely been doing as self-care over this whole lockdown, or this whole year really. God, we've been in lockdown for a long time, because I'm thinking of the first lockdown when I started doing this, and it's like that was like a year ago.
I know. Yeah. I have to. Will you hate me if I now just bowl in here and say that I personally think Reiki is a scam? I think it's a load of crap. Like, I have been for Reiki, and I remember you were so excited when I first went for Reiki, and I felt like I'd just paid money to lie in the dark and listen to some sounds, like some, like, you know, like you get like whales, like, and then you get like a jangle of like some wind chimes, and maybe some sounds of the forest, like and I felt like I just paid money to go and listen to that in the dark.
You're so funny. Well, look, it's whatever
I wanted to laugh,
isn't it? It's whatever works for you.
Exactly.
So Reiki, like, is energy healing, and I go to an energy healer as well. Like, energy healing for me, or energy generally, totally works. And I've had it before on Skype, and I can feel exactly where she is with the energy. But then if I've had friends that have had the same thing, like you, and it's just like, I'm literally just lying in a dark room, nothing is happening.
Nothing happened.
Yeah, I'm paying to listen to someone play a whale music sound.
Play the panpipe, like do, 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 do.
And so that's no good at all. But then, and it's the same with, you know, people with
It was very relaxing. Although I have to say, I do believe in it when your sister energy healed my dog. Yes. Now, this sounds bonkers. I really believe in energy healing for animals. It sounds so bad.
Like, at the moment, she's doing energy healing on a cat as well.
Well, my dog went from being really like annoying and whiny. I'm not exaggerating when I say 2 minutes into the healing, he just lay down, fell asleep, was calm. Fucking mad.
That's so cool. But I think you've made a very good point, babe, is that, well, as we've been saying from the start, self-care or self-healing, whatever it is whatever makes you happy. And
absolutely,
for me,
if Reiki is good for you,
and it also doesn't.
I agree.
I just love a bit of it, but you know, if you prefer to go for a run or you know, eat a pie, like whatever works, you know what I mean? And I love a pie too, to be fair.
I like one of those things, running or pies. Can you guess which?
Answers on a postcard.
Answers on a postcard, please. P.S. I will not run to collect the postcard. Please send pies.
Well, there's a big clue there, listeners. Big clue there.
Send your answers to P.O. Box Pie.
Pie. But I think, I mean, I love pies, and I love Reiki. But I think it's funny how woo-woo. I mean, you talk about spells and stuff. I talk about Reiki.
Oh yeah.
Jumped off the deep end with this stuff because I think
sound mad.
Yeah, we both sound bonkers, but it's also it's what works for us. It's what makes us feel good, and I think that's lovely, isn't it?
I agree. Well, also, if like me saying I think Reiki is a scam doesn't mean Reiki is. Obviously, what I'm saying is like for me it is.
Yeah, it
I feel like some things that work for me sound mad. Like I might like doing a spell. Yeah, I might do that, and afterwards I'll be like, great, I feel so good. I've set an intention of what I want in my life, and I'm trying to manipulate the energy of the universe into giving it to me, and it gives me that sort of like sense of control. And I don't know. I just think that I feel like our podcasts are becoming very like kumbaya. We're like, guys, whatever works for you. But I really do believe that.
I
like,
believe
you guys.
Yeah. But I think also what, you know, there is that, what we're saying is try, not to feel and not beat yourself up about doing your self-care in any kind of particular way. And because I do it myself, and sometimes I'm just rubbish at self-care. I mean, this is like, we're talking about it and people may get
like we're the fucking experts, we're just not
exactly.
We're just two drunk sad women doing spells
doing spells and lying down having energy healing, but then also drinking a bottle of wine and having a cry. Like, it's all it's all swings.
Absolutely. So before we go, wifey woo, why don't you tell me about one self-care thing that you plan to do this week?
Well, I'm doing it today. I'm having
your Reiki.
I'm having my Reiki healing today. But yes, this week generally I've got a bit of time without Lola, my little one. So I plan to be selfish in a good way, as you're now redefining that word for me, which is really good. I'm going to have some baths. I'm going to watch Married at First Sight. I'm going to have a bit of wine. I'm probably going to have a bit of meditation. I'm going to do the whole shebang and just have some time on my own, because that is
I'm so glad.
So what I need right now. Actually,
absolutely. And you can do the best thing, the most important self-care thing of all of them, which we have forgot to mention: sleep.
Oh, sleep. I love
sleep. Is the best thing you can do.
Much. Yeah, sleep rocks. Sleep is so good. And I was just thinking about something that I did this week already for self-care. I just said to Will, last month, I was like, I can't deal with the child or anything right now, and I literally closed the door and turned off the lights and sat with a bottle of wine watching Married at First Sight with the lights off. I lay in a dark room and it was fab. I loved it. I felt really recharged.
Did you feel like you were in a cinema? I still do that sometimes. You remember when you were a kid, you're like, let's pretend we're in a cinema and you just sit in the dark and watch something. I still do that. I love it. In fact, I have to say, before we sort of head off, one of my favourite self-care things to do, and I'm definitely doing that this week.
I was going to say, what are you doing this week?
So what I love to do sometimes is I do myself a cinema night. So the cinema night involves basically sitting in a darkened room. Yeah. I will light a scented candle, that's the only light, and put a film on. And this is the biggest act of self-care for that. I put my phone on airplane mode. So there is nothing coming into me, nothing to distract me. I'm just going to fully lose myself in a movie that I've wanted to watch for ages. So I definitely want to do that. I might do it tomorrow because it's Friday night tomorrow and I miss having like Friday night party night. And so I'm going to substitute that by sitting in a darkened room alone in silence.
What? You got any ideas?
Okay, this is not, I really want to, I think I'm going to have to buy it though. I really want to watch the movie about Ted Bundy's life. I know
with Zac Efron?
Yeah, I love Zac Efron.
And
I'm intrigued by serial killers. Yeah. So I feel like that really does kill
perfect combo.
Could they just cast more hot men as serial killers, like The Rock as like Charles Manson? Yes. Just like cast the hotties as the killers, and then they'll reach out to a whole new audience. It won't just be fans of true crime; it will be pervs as well.
I think you're on something here. He was quite fit, wasn't he, Ted Bundy? That was his thing, wasn't it? He was quite sort of productive.
That's how we got the ladies, and I have to say, the only thing about Zac Efron as Ted Bundy that is I'm finding difficult to deal with is they have given him the Ted Bundy monobrow.
I saw that on the adverts. I'm not too convinced about Zac Efron's acting ability either.
That's not why we watch him, is it?
No. I was going to say, I have Baywatch, the new Baywatch, if you want to see Zac Efron running around with no top on. He clearly had some steroids or something, so it looks like he's been kind of inflated. So if you want that, you can log on to my Amazon.
It's fine. I have actually watched that. I have watched it lately, and of course, look, it's been that was one of my favourite self-care nights during lockdown. I shit you not. I ordered a Chinese takeaway. I drank a bottle of Villa Maria, and I watched Baywatch.
Yes, babe.
Because I fancy The Rock. I fancy Zac Efron. And I just wanted to see some of that. I wanted to enjoy. Well, I just wanted to enjoy the sort of complicated and highfalutin plotline, of course.
It's tricky to follow if you are listening to this and you feel like you're going to tackle Baywatch, the new version. It's
very difficult to follow.
Challenging. Love it.
So that was a night of, but then when I do my movie night tomorrow night, my act of self-care is I think I've been drinking too much, so I'm going to have a chamomile tea. It just depends on what you need.
And you need
to be quite self-aware, I think, to identify that.
Yes.
So yeah, that's my plan. I think we should go off and do that this week. I'm well up for it.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And also we're going to do a bit of writing together, which is always good because that gets me feeling creative, and that always makes me feel better.
Absolutely. Now, my darling wifey, please tell our listeners where they can find you, and if you would like to plug anything, then now is your opportunity.
I am at the Funny Mummy UK for my sketches and mum comedy fabulousness. Carly and I can be found at Bring Your Own Baby Comedy, and we will be bringing shows back. One thing to plug at the moment is I was just on a lovely podcast, to plug another podcast, which is a really nice one called Mind Mummy's Mind. It's all about motherhood and mental health, and I was a guest on episode 3, but all the episodes are lovely, and it's for any parents out there who want to have a listen, I think that's a really lovely one, so I'd like to plug that. How about you, Carly Smallman?
I am at Carly Smallman on Twitter and Instagram, and Carly Smallman Comedy on Facebook. I also do a live stream every Sunday night where I read tarot cards for other comedians. It's called Tarot Nice to Meet You. And you can find all the details about that on my social media. So it'd be great if you guys could join in the fun.
Absolutely. We will see you next week. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Congratulations! You're now a VIP member of The Truth Club. Join us on Instagram and Facebook at Truth Club Podcast. See you next time.